Hi, this is Dr. Ty Vincent again with another educational video about LDI, low-dose immunotherapy. The topic of this video is to answer the question a lot of people have: what do I need to know from you prior to your appointment, your first appointment? That's very common. People think that I need a lot of data or backstory or something typed up or lab results and whatnot, so I just want to clear that up so that you're equipped to talk to me. Basically, what I want is you to tell me your story de novo. I do not need laboratory data. The unfortunate reality is the tens of thousands of dollars you may have spent on all of these laboratory tests did not solve your problem, and that's why you're talking to me. And if it had solved your problem, you wouldn't need to talk to me. And the reality is that it doesn't answer the right question. So laboratory data is 95% of the time useless to me. It just doesn't matter. And I'm talking about heavy metals tests and mold toxin tests, especially all the genetic tests everybody's doing these days. Those completely miss the mark for reasons I could ramble on about for minutes on end, and I will spare you. And then to a very great, significant degree, all of the microbial tests you may have done, antibodies, cultures, stool tests and whatnot, basically totally useless. It's totally useless because just showing that you have germs in your body doesn't mean those germs are making you sick at all. You have to do something to the germ and see a shift in symptomatology to verify that that germ was doing something to the patient clinically. Everybody has elevated Epstein-Barr virus antibodies, everybody has mycoplasma antibodies, everybody's got HHV6, the list goes on and on and on. So many people have Lyme tests that are positive. And again, those just show that they've been in your body at some time or still are, and that doesn't mean they're making you sick. What I'm going to need to know from you is your story. Okay, so be prepared with your story in this format. What I always want to know is the backstory of who you were, whether or not you were ill as a child, and leading up to whatever your chronic illness problems are now. And that may date back to birth, or it may start at age 30 or some point in time. So if you were a completely healthy kid and young adult, just tell me that. I was totally healthy until 25, and then your story starts there. Then I'm going to want to know the circumstances going on with you around the time of the onset of your current chronic illness problem for which you're talking to me, okay? Like, I was totally healthy, I ran marathons and was working full-time, and I wrote 3 books, and then I had a baby and everything went to hell. That's actually a really common scenario for women that I talk to, because having a baby is a massive shift in the immune response threshold, and a lot of immune problems begin then. So that, or I got a vaccine, or I went to Afghanistan, or like whatever. I want to know the circumstances around the when things began, because those are clues that I need. Then I want your symptoms that occurred at the beginning and kind of how your symptoms progressed over time since then. The middle of that, the most important information I ever get is how you responded to any kind of intervention. Like if you were given antibiotics because somebody thought you had Lyme, I want to know if they had any effect or no effect, if they made you worse or better, that. If you got antifungals, if you got antivirals, if you did ozone therapy, if you did homeopathics, if you did bioenergetic machines, if you did coffee enemas, whatever. I don't need a lot of details about the therapy you did, just kind of generically tell me, because I know what a lot of these things are, and say, yeah, I did ozone and hyperbarics and IVIG and GCMAF, and none of that had any effect. Cool, that takes 2 sentences and 30 seconds, and I know that part of your history. If you did have an effect from something, you can elaborate on that. And then as you work through that middle of the story and how you responded to different things, which includes lifestyle interventions and supplements and stuff too, glaze over all that for me, I want to know then how you're doing now. I need a good assessment of your current baseline, what symptoms you're going through. So before you talk to me, if you want to write down a rank order list of these are the symptoms I contend with all the time and start with the ones that bother you the most, that's very useful. But I want you to include all the little symptoms that aren't a big deal to you. Like a common one with somebody with Lyme is, oh, I have horrible debilitating fatigue and brain fogginess and I don't sleep worth a damn and my muscles hurt all the time. And that's what they want to tell me. I'm like, okay, cool, those are your favorite symptoms, but what are some other minor symptoms that you're not bothered by? And they go, I don't know. And then I ask you a list of questions like, do you have ringing in your ears? Do you get numbness and tingling in your fingers or toes? Do you have visual distortion or floaters? You know, there's a list of other things that aren't normal that I want to know about because they play into how you're going to respond to each dose. And sometimes the little minor nuisance symptoms will go away with a dose, but your big ones don't, and you'll tell me nothing happened, and that's not true. and then we overdose you by mistake. And it's not my mistake, it's yours. Okay, so I need you to prepare that list. I need you to be, just expect me to want that story from you, and then I'll ask a lot of questions as we go. But the way I figure things out is mostly by symptoms and history and how things affected you. I don't need any notes from your previous doctor because I don't want to go down the same wrong rabbit trails that they went down. So I don't want to even know their thought process. I don't need any laboratory data. It's very rare that I want any, and if there is something that might be relevant, I may ask for it, and then you can pull it out. Like if you think you have rheumatoid arthritis, there are some laboratory markers that are kind of diagnostic. So that's one specific example, and I want to know if you had those labs or not, things like that. But for most people I talk to, labs are totally unhelpful. Food antibody tests, stool tests, mold toxins in the urine, genetic tests in particular, totally useless. Like I said, just don't waste our time and your money with that info. Okay, don't expect to. And otherwise, just come with your own list of questions. That's super helpful. And if you have already been given LDA or LDI by some other practitioner, I will need to know the dates, the doses that were taken those dates, and how you feel you responded to those. That's really, really helpful, really, really critical. So if you just tell me, oh, I did LDA for a year with this other doctor in Michigan or whatever, and you don't tell me anything else, I'm like, well, what did they give you? How did you respond? I don't know. That's not helpful at all, right? Just knowing that you tried it and it didn't work. I need to know what didn't work so I don't repeat the same mistakes. I like to make new mistakes. It's my opportunity to make new mistakes for you. I think that's about it for what you need to know before we talk.